All right. Hey, this is Sid Owsley from the Decision Determines Destination podcast, the 3Ds to Success. We share stories of people who use what I call the 3Ds to success to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life. And today I have Ms. Charlene Walters, MBA, PhD. Charlene is an entrepreneurship coach, business and branding mentor, corporate trainer, and author of Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur. She serves as a mentor on Entrepreneur Magazine's Ask an Expert forum and through her own consulting business, Charlene Walters, MBA, PhD, LLC. She's featured among other CEOs, influencers, and celebrities on the BAM Network, BAM Network, and was recently selected as one of 150 marketers to follow on Rubicly. Welcome, Charlene. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Sid. I'm happy to be here.
It's great having you. And Charlene, I'm looking at your bio, and you have so much going on here. I just want you to tell us your story of how you use the 3Ds to success to overcome obstacles and challenges in your life. Because for you to accomplish all this stuff on this bio, you have overcome some things.
Definitely. And so I would say that I am definitely one determined person also, which has helped me along my journey. I've been really tenacious. I sort of started out undergrad as an English major, really not thinking much about business. I always wanted to be a writer. I knew that. And I grew up in Connecticut where it was really cold, and I hate cold weather. I'm just not a cold weather person. So I moved as soon as I could. I moved to Miami, got involved with sales, really loved it, decided to keep going back to school, learning more about business. I got my MBA and then eventually my PhD in marketing, and kind of was back and forth between higher ed and business. I always felt like I don't want to be completely in higher ed because I want to actually be doing the business side of things. But then I'd go back from time to time, just depending on what was going on in my life. And eventually I got to the point where I really specialized in curriculum, because curriculum really combined all the things that I was passionate about, the business, the writing, all of it. And I created a digital entrepreneurship MBA program. So I selected the books for our entrepreneurs that were in the program. I helped them with their plans to work on their business. I was doing a lot of mentoring. And I also started doing some mentoring with Entrepreneur Magazine. And I just got more and more inspired by everyone around me. And I went back in my mind. I always had a goal of writing a book and becoming an author. So I decided to write a book on entrepreneurial mindset because I was doing a lot of speaking and writing about the topics in my book anyways, and decided it would add a lot of value. And I was sort of looking at the books on the market on entrepreneurial mindset, and I realized there weren't really any that were focused specifically at women. So I decided to make that a priority and kind of came up with Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur. And, it's a book on entrepreneurial mindset, and it was just recently published. And it's been really rewarding because we had a time in the US when so many women left the workforce, 2.2 million. So many people were out of work. And, it's a book for women, but men can, of course, relate to it too. And I was happy that it came at a time when it could really help people out there. And you talked about determination too. So another little part about my backstory is that when my girls, I have two girls, when they were 2 and 4, my husband left for work one day and was involved in an accident and just never came home. I became a single mother instantly, had to deal with grief, was sort of mid-PhD, was working some jobs. I just really thought, I am never going to make it through this PhD. I am never going to do all the things that I want to do. I'm never going to be able to raise these children myself. But as you know, when you're in a tough situation, you have to just dig deep and pull yourself out. And I've gone on to do a lot of different things that I might have never done had that not have happened to me and put me on a different path. So I guess my point of my story is for anyone else who's going through a tough time, don't let it drag you down. Everything will be okay. And everything sort of happens for a reason to put you somewhere else, and you can get through it.
Wow. Yeah, that's like you said, having a sudden life-changing event like that, like you said, being a single mother, almost instantly like that is traumatic and life-changing.
Yes. I mean, it's, so many women in our country are, single moms or primary breadwinners I think it's something like 42%. So there's a lot of us out there. And so a lot of times, I think that I like to help women that are in similar situations. However, and people can become single moms for any number of reasons, or single parents. There's plenty of single dads out there too. Yeah. I think the idea is that we have a very diverse society, and there's all kinds of different families, and we have to kind of make sure we're reflecting that. And so I think for single moms, single parents, single dads, or anyone really, entrepreneurship is a wonderful option to kind of take control of your schedule, your career, your earnings, and kind of provide for your families. So definitely recommending the entrepreneurship angle.
Yes, I do too. It's time, for people to, like I said, take control as much as they can. What have you seen during this COVID pandemic, Charlene, in the area of entrepreneurship and mindset? What's been your experience in dealing with people since this has been going on?
So, a lot of people have turned towards entrepreneurship, whether they had to because they lost their jobs. Some people just exited because, a lot of companies downside. They kind of got overwhelmed. They were homeschooling. There's been all different kinds of things. And as you know, some businesses have really taken off during the pandemic. Others have struggled more. What I've seen is that the ones that are most creative, that have that tenacity, that determination, are the ones that do really well because they've had to come up with alternate ways to reach customers, adjust to their changing needs, right? We've had to meet them in different places. And as we come out of the pandemic, again, we're in for another round of changes because people's behavior, consumers' buying patterns will change again. So we've got to adjust. So really, as an entrepreneur, it's important to be creative, to be able to pivot, and to be resilient because we're all going to get knocked down over and over again. And we can't get stuck there. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to, think that it's not fair, but we just can't get stuck. We have to come up with plan B, plan C, and find new ways to keep going because entrepreneurship is hard.
Yeah. It's it's an adventure.
It is. It sure is. Those that are most successful are the ones, that can kind of stick in there and keep coming up with something new, a new angle. And it's hard because we feel, we really feel those failures, like it's a stab through the heart, rejection, whatever it is. And that's okay. That's normal. Even extremely successful people are being, rejected, or they have obstacles. You just don't see it. Like, we're not all posting on Instagram. Yeah. Shoot, I got rejected 10 times today. Darn, there's another no email. We're posting about the good things. And I think that's really dangerous. So it's important for us all. And I love it when I see really successful people talk about their failures and their setbacks because we all have them.
That's so important what you just mentioned, Charlene, because I know for myself personally, that's what has kept me going, listening to people like Robert Kiyosaki and Les Brown and other entrepreneurs. It's always great to hear their successes, but when they share their failures and them coming back from their failures, that's what really keeps me going. That's actually why I, started living by and talking more about, determining your destination, because it's the the ability to come back from these setbacks and challenges that is really going to help you win. Let's talk some more about that, because I think it's so important for people to really understand how that works.
Gosh. So, it's important to have kind of that plan when you hit an obstacle or you hit a setback. It's important to be able to come back and have another plan. So, for example, for me, I know when something bad happens, or I have a rejection or a failure, or something just not going right, I get into sort of a negative headspace, right? And it's okay for me to be like that, but I know at that point that I need to take a break. So I look at my meetings, I see what I have scheduled. If I have a little break, I try to, go and do something else, take a walk, get some fresh air, spend some time with my kids, and then come back to it when I'm in a better mood, because in that negative space, nothing good's going to come from it, right? So you just have to kind of find those things. Maybe your confidence is waning. Maybe you've had a couple of setbacks in a row and you're not feeling as strong about your business as you can. think about all the great things you've done, make a list, hang it somewhere if you need it, and just refer back to that when you need that little boost. You might even have a friend or a relative or somebody who always lifts you up. Just find those coping strategies so that you can get through that temporary time when you're feeling really down and come back to it. And sometimes it's easier said than done. And we feel like things are going really slowly as an entrepreneur. We're not doing enough. But then if we start journaling and writing down what we're doing every day and look back through it, it's amazing the progress that we've made. It just feels sometimes it's not going fast enough for us, because as people, we want to take the fastest route, have this instant success. And it's just not that way. It's a lot of zigs and zags and ups and downs and backs and forth to get there. So we always have to keep that in mind and keep reminding ourselves about that.
You certainly do. It's on a daily basis. Maybe
yes.
even an hourly basis, it seems like, you have to keep reminding yourself of these things.
You absolutely do. Yeah. Because it can be challenging, entrepreneurs too, it's very lonely. It's isolating, particularly if you're a solopreneur. So it's important to join forces with other entrepreneurs. Maybe you have a mastermind group where you're trading ideas. Maybe you're in similar situations and you can share what you've done to come out of any obstacles or to move forward. You talk about resources. Maybe you get a mentor to help you, even if it's temporarily. There can be many different types of mentors out there. Could be you read a book by someone you admire or you like. You just mentioned a few that you've read and that influencers that have really helped you and inspired you. Find those resources, keep educating yourself, look at what the competition is doing. Even if it's not somebody in your industry, you can often learn things and kind of emulate what they're doing to move you through. So just keep looking for those outside resources and don't go it alone, because you could get stuck in your head too much and really burn yourself out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it is easy to burn yourself out. And you have to find a way to de-stress and keep going at the same time.
Yes.
Charlene, we have a troll on here in the comments. You saw that? Okay. But let's
dealing with haters. We can talk about dealing with haters if you want.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to address the women in business, the things that women have done in business. This person is saying that all the billionaires are men. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about, the things that women in business, if you want to address that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of successful women in business. Just look at Oprah, so many women. I mean, Oprah's a good example because she's always into something new. But, women sometimes struggle more because of societal norms, as this person is saying, sometimes there's a negative perception that women can't do things and they're judged differently than men. Women are often brought up to be a little more demure, not to put themselves out there, not to kind of supposedly brag or boast, and men can talk about all of their accomplishments and they're not judged in the same way. So women do have some more challenges when it comes to business. They have to get more comfortable being confident. There's something known as a confidence gap where men will apply for positions more often than women. Like women will wait and only apply for a position when they have 100% of the qualifications versus men who will apply when they have 60%. So there's a lot that we need to overcome in society and address as entrepreneurs and as business owners. But many studies have found that women are just as capable. It's just that they struggle maybe more with confidence. Sometimes they have a little bit more a propensity to have imposter syndrome or that feeling that they don't belong. And then we have people you see that are saying kind of negative things about women, but women can do it. There's many successful women out there, and more women are getting into entrepreneurship all the time because they're often, they're not given as many opportunities in the corporate world. And I think this is their way of gaining control and trying to get that success for themselves.
Yeah. I in some of the groups that I've been in, a lot of them are women who are starting businesses, and just because you're not a billionaire, because most of us aren't, doesn't mean that you're not successful in your business.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of women too that are really successful financially. I didn't prepare a list, unfortunately, right now, but you can think of many of them who are masters at personal branding, at kind of just furthering their careers. The ones that really stand out, of course, are those in show business because we see them a lot. Mm-hmm. There are so many women out there that are, really becoming these strong entrepreneurs and just furthering their businesses.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I've seen is that women are very, very good at networking.
Yes.
They get together and get into groups, and they're very, very good at networking and making connections.
Yes. Women, and that's something, women are really good at that. We have to get a little more comfortable with personal branding because sometimes it's harder for us to kind of make ourselves the center of everything. But as business owners, that's what we need to do. So I always suggest, starting with thinking about those skills, that area of expertise that you have, and then coming up with 2 to 3 areas that you want to be known for, and then kind of putting out content in relation to that. And it can be any kind of content. It could be a podcast like this. It could be maybe you're interested in writing. Maybe you want to start with a blog, start contributing to articles, doing some speaking for, different organizations, or going on podcasts as a guest, or going on TV shows, whatever it is. There are many ways to kind of build up your brand and put yourself out there. And the more you do that, the more you join the conversation, the more networking you'll do. I think podcasting has been so amazing for me, meeting the other hosts, getting to know other people. Just have met so many incredible people in the past year or so, kind of going on the podcast circuit and kind of talking about my book. It's been amazing for that. So women are really good at that. They're getting better all the time. We're building that visibility and putting ourselves out there. So, women just need to keep hanging in there and doing what they're doing, because I think we'll see more and more women rising up as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it definitely seems it's definitely going in that direction. Like I said, most of the groups I've been in, any type of mastermind group or anything like that, a very large percentage are women. And when I started my podcast, I think at maybe the first 10 guests or something like that, it was definitely at least the first 5 or 6 were women. I think in the first 15 to 20 guests, only 3 men. I actually had to call up the men because the women were, as soon as I said I had a podcast, it was the women that jumped on it the fastest. I mean, it was I was flooded. I was like, I had to call up some guys. I say, are you guys too cool or something to get on the podcast? The women are outdoing you. You better get on this.
It's interesting, yeah, because, I always think that too. When I'm doing something, I want to keep everything balanced. And sometimes you kind of go one way or the other. So you have to kind of try to reverse it and make it a little more balanced, because you might appeal more to certain people than others. But definitely it's good to have a variety, because then you get to hear different perspectives and see what different people are working on. So the more diversity, the better.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's good seeing a lot more women who are taking the chance and being entrepreneurs and exploring the talents that they have and creating businesses, because it helps the marketplace overall, and it helps other women have a place, someone that they feel like they can trust to do business with and feel more comfortable, So that's, it's a good.
Yeah, I mean, women, as the person was comment, women do have more challenges. We struggle more with work-life balance, because a lot of times we're also juggling family responsibilities. They often fall on women. And that's not to say that men don't ever help. I don't want to say that, because a lot of times men are in there doing it too. But a lot of times the bulk of the responsibilities, so women are trying to balance that with their business, with everything they have going on. So they just need sometimes a little more support. And it's great that we have more of these networks kind of coming up where people are mentoring. There are support groups for women, a lot of organizations dedicated totally just to female entrepreneurs, which I think is really heartwarming and rewarding to see. The point of my book was really to help women with those areas that they do struggle with a little more than men. It's not to say that they can't be successful. They definitely can, but they do have those areas that will take some time to kind of undo. They need to get more comfortable with their money mindset, with negotiating, with pitching, all of those things that often come more naturally for men. Women can do them. They just sometimes need a little help, a little practice in developing those areas, becoming more confident. But you'll see, again, we've seen so many women kind of jump into this space, and you'll see so many more. Think of Barbara Corcoran. She's an amazing example of a female entrepreneur.
Yeah. And she did it. You know, it's funny that she's on a show like Shark Tank, because what she did in New York in real estate, she really was in the Shark Tank.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
Her book Shark Tales is really amazing. If you haven't read it, you hear all about her and all the clever things she did to kind of get herself out of jams and move forward. And I think that, you know, she's super innovative and creative and a really great role model, because she's doing amazing things with entrepreneurship. So again, lots of women out there. You just have to look around and get to know them. But again, we can learn from everyone, men, women, whoever it is. And the more we can look for, if we are women and we want to see more role models, they're there. Believe me, they're out there.
For sure. Yep, they definitely are. You know, tell us about some of the media outlets that you've been featured on, Charlene. There's a whole list of them here. Yeah.
So I've been in a few. I've been quoted in a few, and I guess I could give some tips for anyone who's just starting out that wants to get in, because people ask me all the time, you know, how to get more kind of PR. So when you're first starting out, the best way to try to get inside different media outlets or get featured in them, there's organizations out there. There's Pitch Rate, Media Kitty. There's another one called Help a Reporter Out. And that's where journalists are looking for experts to quote. And you can sign up as an expert, look for opportunities to have your quote put in maybe an article that they're working on. And that's a good way to start building and to getting those mentions. You can also look for bloggers to align with, other influencers. A lot of influencers have their own blogs. You can try to get featured in those and kind of build up from there. It's not like you're instantly being featured everywhere all the time, but you start to build, you start to create your own blog, you start to create your own content, whether it's videos, whether it's podcasts. And the more you do that, the more people will start approaching you to come on their podcast, maybe to be featured if they're writing an article about something that you know about. You can also become an author. There's so many people out there now who want to write books. I think it's like 80% of the population. A lot of ways to do that through traditional publishing, through hybrid publishing, through self-publishing. So again, whatever really appeals to you, and you should just really make a plan and stick with it. Take those little steps. Don't think of a book like a huge book. Think of it like writing, you know, I have a goal to write 5 pages a week or whatever it is. And eventually you'll get to where you want to be. So just stick on that path. Doesn't happen overnight, but you will build over time in terms of your presence.
That is so true. I'm actually working on my book now. And,
what's your book called?
It's going to be called The 3 Ds to Success: Determination, Determiners, Destination.
Great.
So, and I have a woman coach helping me with it.
Very good.
As a matter of fact, Denise Nicholson, and she was my very first guest on my podcast.
Very good.
I highly recommend anyone that wants to start a book to, get a coach that will help you, as Denise says, get your book out of your head and on the paper.
Yes, it's true, because, you need help. It's kind of overwhelming at first. I know when I first started out writing the book, I didn't know anything about the publishing industry. I met with several different people to get their ideas about how to move forward, about how to create the book proposal, what it should look like, what it should say, how to approach agents, how to, get it all done. And it's a process for sure. And you don't really understand it, or at least I didn't when I was first getting into it, but now I have a much better understanding and am able to walk others through it. So definitely get people that can help you. Don't go it alone. And even just to pick their brains for a little while, definitely, it's very important.
Yeah, it helps a lot. My book would definitely still be in my head if it wasn't having someone to help me with the process.
Yes. So you've been able to get it out. When do you hope to publish your book?
I think probably in the next 90 days, maybe a little less. Just getting it. You know how it is, getting everything together, getting ready to send everything to the editor, probably in another 2 weeks. And yeah, it's coming. It's definitely going much faster than if I had done it myself. I would probably still be on the introduction.
That, and that editor is such an important part of the process because, we're often too close to the work. We start to, kind of all blurs together at some point, but the editor will find those issues and those errors, help us add things that are relevant, think about things that we hadn't thought about that are unclear.
Yeah.
So never underestimate the value of an editor and, don't go it alone. I think that's the big takeaway there.
Yeah, it is very important for people to understand that they don't have to go it alone. Have someone like you as an entrepreneur coach, branding coach, have a coach to help them write their book or whatever. Because whenever I know for me, whenever I try to do this stuff by myself, it either doesn't get done or it turns out really bad.
I know. I think it's funny how we want to do everything ourselves, but then, we realize at some point, like, no, it will be so much better if we just get someone else to help us. I'm a big believer in bootstrapping, and you should bootstrap as a new entrepreneur and try to do as much as you can yourself. But there are certain things that you are just better off going to a professional for.
Yeah, I agree so much because, in the area of bootstrapping, my philosophy is you're going to pay one way or the other. Either you're going to pay in time because time is just as valuable as if not more valuable than money. If you're not making progress at a good rate because you're messing around trying to figure something out that you could delegate to someone else and pay some money to who is an expert or at least good at it, they're better than you at it, pay them the money and get it done.
Yes,
they could get it done in 3 days. You may be 2 weeks. I was working on a sale page for the course I'm working on now. And I was going to try to do it all myself. I said, I can do this. Then it was like, no, just stop. Just pay. Fiverr is your friend. Pay the guy the money. Let him do it. Get it done.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that we struggle with as entrepreneurs, is that we don't want to delegate. We want it done ourselves. We think we can do a better job. And the sooner we start delegating, getting those things off our plate, particularly things we're not good at or that we don't enjoy, the better off we are. We can really focus on the important things for our business, those things that are generating revenue and the things that are moving our business forward.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. But bootstrapping is still good. I mean, you can bootstrap here and there, find creative ways to partner with people, maybe trade products, services, just to make it happen until you start getting that revenue kind of flowing well, which takes a while. It takes a while to get going.
Yep. There's always a way to get it done, where you struggle a little less and get the expertise of someone else. As you said, that's all part of being an entrepreneur, figuring those things out.
Yes. And even, you can start as a side hustle. A lot of people get into entrepreneurship as a side hustle where they're doing it a little bit at a time while they still have a day job. And, the big thing with becoming an entrepreneur is taking that initial risk, giving up that paycheck, which we don't like to do, right? Mm-hmm. We want to keep that nice paycheck. So if we're doing a side hustle, we'll still have some money coming in while we're building up our business and gaining traction so we can get it to the point where we're comfortable, we're established, and then we can jump into that full-time entrepreneurship. That really helps mitigate the risk. It makes us more comfortable and confident, and we can really kind of test out our idea, our business concept before we're launching full-time.
For sure. Yep. You can get his way to get it done.
Did you start as a side hustle, Sid?
Yes.
You did.
Yep.
Yes, I did too. Yep. So we all do, I think. We like having that side hustle first and then kind of moving forward. Just depends on your situation, of course.
Yep. You don't have to jump in the pool all at once.
No, take your time, do your research, look at the competition, determine who your target audience is and start creating your MVP and, having people test it so that you can determine whether or not you're in exactly the right thing. And sometimes you'll launch obviously as part of your side hustle, and you'll start to kind of move things. You think you're going to end up one way and somehow it shifts a little bit depending on the reaction in the market. And that's okay. And that's totally normal.
Yeah. Yep. Just gotta flow with it.
You absolutely do. Go with the flow.
Charlene, we're about to wrap up, and I want everybody to make sure they know how to get in contact with you so that they can, get some advice from you and partake of your services and help them with their own businesses.
Yeah, definitely. So you can find out more about me on my website, which is charlenewalters.com. And if you're interested in my book at all, it's called Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur. And you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Walmart, anywhere books are sold. And you can read more about it on launchyourInnerEntrepreneur.com. You can find me on social. I'm C. Walters, PhD on Twitter, Charlene Walters, PhD on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Happy to connect, help you out with anything. I have a free consultation on my website if you want to talk to me about any projects you have about your business. Maybe it's about writing a book, whatever it is. You can reach out to me there. I'd be thrilled to help. And I'm thrilled to be on here with Sid. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate that.
It's been great having you on. Great conversation we had. And, I appreciate the help from the person who left the comment that helped expand our conversation.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
You can always learn something from whoever has to comment. Don't let it bother you. I see his point, but we are working to raise up more women. And there are a lot of very successful women out there. So that's not entirely true. So we take the good and the bad.
That's right. That's part of the deal.
Yes.
All right. This is Sid Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast, the 3 Ds to Success, where we share stories of people who use the 3 Ds to success to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life. Check out my YouTube channel, the 3 Ds to Success, Sid Owsley, as well as you can check out the podcast on Spotify and other podcast directories. Also, go to my website, sidowsley.com, where you can pick up a free gift about how to set your goals the right way. That's a free gift you can get at sidowsley.com. Thank you, and I'm out. This is Sid Owsley.